Good morning. Welcome to another vlog. So today is an extra exciting day because we're going to Northern Tropicals, but we're there to help Lauren receive a very exciting shipment, which has our wish list plant inside, the monstera burle Marx flame. Charmaine and I joined this pre-order and we're sharing one plant, but also in that order are like a lot of philodendron spiritus sanctis. I think Lauren might have gotten some like extra random anthuriums for herself as well. So we asked if we could help her unpack and like start the acclimation process because she's going to be holding these plants back for a couple weeks just to make sure that they like don't die before sending them off to the pre-order people. So we're going to help her with that. I don't plan on bringing my camera to the shop because I think Lauren wants to film there. I think Charmaine's going to film there as well, so I don't want to be like competing for the same footage. So I'm only going to bring my phone. So anything I film at the shop will be on my phone. And Charmaine's actually on her way now to pick me up. It's going to be the first time that she's ever driven me. The only time she's ever driven me, we drove from like one end of the parking lot to the other. So I'm very much looking forward to be driven by her. But yeah, we're trying this thing out where she drives so she doesn't feel nauseous and also she can kind of get out of her comfort zone driving in the city. So since we're gonna be together in the car, you know what that means. It's gonna be another car chat. So last night I put up a question box on my Instagram just asking for questions and topics for us to talk about, planty or personal. So I have actually quite a few. I don't think I'm gonna get through them all, but maybe I'll leave some for like another Q&A. I'll just kind of throw them in the question bank. So that's pretty much the plan for today. Now for the rest of the video, I think I'll probably do some repotting and other plant chores around the house. So it's just gonna be another one of those like random planty filming here, filming there kind of video. So yeah, I am so excited to see the plants. I think I'm gonna die a little bit in a good way and maybe throw up also in a good way. So anyways, I better get going because Charmaine's I think just about here. So I will see you in the car. We're going.
We're going. This is my first time driving.
And she's going, like she's going fast.
I drive like a Californian still.
Yeah.
Wait, is there a speed? I know there's no speed limit in Germany, right? But what about?
No, there's no speed limit on the Autobahn.
Oh.
Not just anywhere in Germany.
I would never drive there.
But like, I would also never drive in like Taiwan.
Oh my God, there's no lines on the road. They just go like this.
Oh yeah.
But they don't crash into each other.
I know. So we're matching today.
This was completely unintentional.
We also have black jeans on. She's wearing Birkenstocks with socks, and I'm wearing my Crocs with socks. So it's a little bit different.
We literally did not plan this at all. Ew, this is the most disgusting angle of me.
Well,
just put a clown face over. So
we really need to work on the camera angle in the car.
We need a sponsor for like just a mount. We'll do it for free.
Well, I don't want a mount that goes on the windshield because it always leaves a residue. But that's the best angle that you can get. I always have to get like a specific glass cleaner to get that off. Bon Ami doesn't work. I have to get like it's sliding. Good glass cleaner though for your car is Auto Glim Fast Glass. I highly recommend it. If you use
is
it
that the one from the UK or?
Yeah. It really makes water like rain just bead off. It's nice.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Okay. Q&A questions.
Yeah, because we've got 15 minutes.
I know, she's driving like a maniac. So. Where did the names Alvin and Sherman come from? It's not even a good story.
It's really not. Like, I think, like, okay, I've had a lot of nicknames as like a kid, teenager. Not really nicknames, but like people just making fun of my name. Like people call me Charmin toilet paper and Charmander, stuff like that. No one has ever called me Sherman though. But one day I just kind of identified as Sherman. I don't know why.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so since I had like a boy name, it just kind of made sense for everyone else to have a boy name too.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't like my name, Charmaine. I feel like it's not my name. I don't know.
Yeah, but Sherman, you feel good about?
I feel good about Sherman. So then I think I'm the one that called you
Alvin
first. And then I remember us just having a conversation one day, just choosing what everyone's boy name was going to be. And then we came on Jim and then Eric for Aaron.
Yeah.
But really, it's like the most anticlimactic story ever.
Yeah. It's just stuck.
It's just stuck.
And then Amanda started calling us Alvin and Sherman. So then it just made it feel really real.
And I call her Armando. I don't know what Alvin calls
I call her Manfred. Next question. I really love this question. What do people do? Also, I'm doing this off memory because all my questions are on my phone. What do people do on plant Facebook groups that give you the ick?
It's very timely.
This, I know. I wouldn't talk about this one person that's giving me
Maybe
the ick
once
right
enough
now.
time has passed when it's not so fresh.
Yeah, but I feel like if you want to generalize what this person's doing, when someone joins a community that's very established and quite a big group, and then they act like the main character, like they're posting like every day, but also people who use the Facebook group as like their own personal diary.
That's probably gotta be my number one. Like, this is an entire community of people. Like, we don't need it to be your personal feed. I'm so sorry. I don't need to see a photo of your kids with your plants multiple times a week. I don't need to see you taking selfies with your plants multiple times a week. And I know I sound like a hater, but the emphasis is on like multiple times.
Yeah.
One after another. Like, that's when it becomes sort of like your feed and not like a community page.
Yeah, recognize that it's a community. And also when people are posting plants for sale, multiple plants for sale, and they
fuck me. Oh my god.
You're fine. It's okay. And they post every plant individually in a separate post. That's what a purge is. It just clogs the feed. Yeah. And also, joke's on you, it's bad for your own post engagement because like people are gonna scroll by a single plant more.
Exactly. What's in there?
Oh, I f***ing hate this. When people post plants for sale, and also because there's like rules in our group against this. There's a lot of rules and it's very well managed, but people don't read the rules. When they post plants for sale and they just said, make me an offer. I hate that one. I hate make me an offer. It's so icky. Yeah.
DM me.
It's really the phrase make me an offer that is so icky for me.
I don't like it. It's very like...
I don't know. It's like, I don't like to be told what to do, so I'm never going to make you an offer.
That's what it is. Don't forget tell me what to do.
And specifically our group, it's very common in sales groups is every plant must have a posted price. You can't do like PM me for a price or whatever. So A, you didn't read the rules, and B, you're just like, I want to get the most out of this. And
that's why we implemented that rule, because it's like, you know, it's sort of the same concept as people who do like the silent auctions or like the private auctions where you don't know publicly what the bids are. Like the seller can be jacking up the price, lying about how many people are interested. So it's like, it's just for transparency, you know, everyone should know who's interested, what the highest number is, so that there's no kind of vagueness around it.
Yeah, and that's one great thing about Facebook sales, because it's a great way to know market prices and what people are willing to pay for certain plants. I hate that though. Make me an offer.
I would say another high one for me in terms of an ick are the people who think that they know it all and are so sure about it, and they'll go and they'll ID people's plants, or they'll like argue with people about an ID and be like blatantly wrong and just double down
and then they send like a Google screenshot.
Like, oh, you're wrong,
Google
like,
said this.
Literally nobody is expecting anyone to know it all, and if someone's correcting you like with accurate information, like you should be thankful for that, because it just makes you look really, really dumb, honestly. And it's just like icky. Like, nobody likes a know-it-all. Even if you do know it all, like you don't have to act like that. you know, in a community of people.
Exactly. And this next thing is not necessarily exclusive to Facebook, but I see it all the time on Facebook when people like try to educate people and say like you're doing it wrong, and then they follow up with like, I own over 200 plants. Like, okay, so you have the means to buy 200 plants, or
that doesn't mean anything.
That doesn't mean that you know everything. And with every sort of hobby or craft or skill, it goes without saying that like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know, and that there's no like hard rules. So you basically just outed yourself as kind of a newbie anyways, because there's no one way to do things. Like when they're like, you can't use this kind of pole to size up a plant. I know I only collect rares, and I have like 300 plants.
Oh my god. It's so cringe. My butt's cringed. It's clenched.
Yuck.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is like I feel like a lot of these people who are saying this information like have never even really tried anything firsthand.
Yeah.
Like they're just basing it off of what other people have said, or like what is a popular normal in the plant group, but haven't actually had any experience in that, you know, experience or whatever.
Or doing other methods.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I tend to be really quiet in groups, to be honest.
I know.
Like, I'm more of a lurker.
Oh, so am I.
Yeah.
I've like never posted in any other group other than the Vancouver group.
Yeah, and even then I feel like we're pretty quiet now. Like,
yeah.
We only really wait.
Oh shit.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, you're good.
Oh
good.
no.
You're good. Perfect.
Woo! Look at me, I'm so pretty. Just driving in Vancouver.
Little girl in the big city.
I know. I feel like that covered a good amount. I mean, honestly, this could be an entire like podcast, like a regular podcast topic.
Yeah.
I could go in depth. And honestly, like, because I'm the mod in Jing's group, and there are so many stories and so many things that a lot of people don't know. And like I could go into full detail about certain situations and you know what all the sides were. But I think as a mod or as an admin, we feel the need to keep things like that private.
Yeah.
You know, like people trust us with handling, you know, that situation privately and not having it be aired out, even if it's like anonymous, you know, and you talk about it anonymously. But I wish that we could just freely talk about it, because it's actually really hilarious.
I feel, well, I don't think you need another mod, but one reason why Jing has never made me a mod, because Jing is the admin of the group, is because like the moment I become a mod, everyone's getting put on notice. Like, just get out! Don't be annoying! Mute! Out! Booted!
Oh my gosh. But you know what? It's actually like pretty quiet now. Like we used
except
to
for this week.
Oh my god, this week was something else. Everyone was in such a bad mood.
I know, every time there's like drama, I'm just like,
you know, and that's I mean that's a great thing about not being a mod, is that you can kind of be a part of these conversations. Or enjoy it.
Because you guys have to worry about like what that could do to the group, but I'm just like,
yeah, exactly. Anyway, I have a lot of Facebook gigs, but that's a whole other bag of worms.
Oh, the what would your dream house be? What would it look like, and how big would it be, and like how full of plants would it be?
Easy question for me.
Okay.
My dream home is an Eichler home. Alice can throw in a photo of it on the screen. It's basically like, you know, one of those like mid-century modern, almost retro homes, very angular, one story, usually has like an atrium where you like walk into a door. It's like this enclosed atrium, or sometimes an open top atrium, and then you go into your front door from there. So you have this little courtyard in the front with just like glass windows. Maybe I'll send Alice some good photos that she can throw in. I like these houses just because there's so much light that comes in. A lot of these homes utilize the floor to ceiling windows as walls essentially, and they're just like really, really bright and airy, and they just look so good with plants. But I think that if I owned one of these homes, I probably would still style it the way I style my house now, where like it's just all on a shelf or just kind of here and there. I wouldn't want it to like cover all of the windows and all of the light coming in. But yeah, that's my dream home. I don't know if I'll ever own one because they are extremely expensive.
Yeah, and building one would just cost $1 million.
Yeah.
No, way more than $1 million.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if I tried to like build one now, you know, just if I bought land or something, it would be insane. I think my best bet would find one, like an original one, and then try to restore it, but I wouldn't be able to afford one that was already like modernized, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
So my dream home is kind of a paradox. So my boyfriend and I are still planning to move to the UK at some point. So my dream home looks like, you know, a very classic English home. Like a small, like I don't want a huge house. Like my house right now is like 1,800 square feet, and that's already a pain in the ass to clean. So not huge, and I want like a nice garden in the back. But the thing with like old British homes is that there's not a lot of light, and you can't just like blow out a window or anything. So I would love to have floor to ceiling windows at least in some part of the home. So maybe like a compromise would be to have a sunroom. But I feel like the house would still be like on the darker side because it's such an old house.
But I think the fact that you're living in like essentially your dream home would balance that out, I think.
I hope so, yeah.
And I hope she doesn't move until I'm like, I don't know, maybe busy with crotch goblins or something, where I can be distracted from the fact she left me, you know?
And I'm also going to build a little laneway house in the back, which can double as Charmaine's summer cottage.
I'm like the Joey and she's the Chandler. Are we getting coffee?
Oh, we can if you want, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we've only answered 2 questions, and
Yeah.
we're almost here. I can't remember any questions now.
Mary Kill.
Oh, Mary Kill. It was monstera.
Tom Holland. Oh.
Monstera, philodendron, Hoya.
Oh shit. Wait, fuck. Mary Kill.
Monstera, Mary philodendron, kill Hoya.
I think wait. Is it the next one? Oh, fuck me.
It's okay, you can still go on the next one.
Okay.
Well, you'll have to turn around, I guess.
I think that's the same answer as me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
like
then-
monster is something you like dabble in.
Yeah.
You have a little one night stand.
Oh,
Yeah.
a little fun night.
Yeah. And then another Mary Kill was, I don't think there's any good answer for this.
Tom Holland. Zendaya.
Mealy bugs, spider mites.
This is so
Threat.
f***ed up. This is so f***ing messed up.
I know.
Okay.
But our people are messed up like us.
Okay, kill spider mites.
Kill spider mites, yes. Maybe you have to mealy bugs. I think I would marry thrips. Because they're not so bad.
No, I think I would marry mealybugs because they don't damage your plants like the other
right.
2 do. So it's like a
Yeah.
long-term thing that's kind of annoying.
Oh yeah, and also thrips has like kind of like a bad boy name, you know?
Yeah, and I don't want to a mealybug. I just don't. I would rather marry it.
You'd have one of those symbolic marriages where like maybe the mealybug is gay and
Yeah. Oh jeez. Oh no. I can't get
that's a
stuck
loading
in there.
zone. Oh, that's reserved. Okay.
Oh no.
So
My ass is so hot.
Did you turn on the seat warmer when you said
Yeah.
that?
Because remember I like my booty warm.
So your ass is hot, and you're like, make it hotter.
I know. Oh my gosh, don't come this way. There's no parking and I'm stuck.
He's like, oh, she just left a parking
No, I
spot.
didn't, I swear.
This place is bumping.
No,
What the heck?
frick? Because it's lunchtime.
Oh yeah, it is lunchtime. Man, I love being unemployed.
Yeah, me
Maybe
too.
I should just
There we
be
go.
unemployed forever.
Yeah. Who was that?
That was a big truck from the main street.
Big truck.
Wasn't for you.
Please, please. Oh my god, there's someone behind me. Oh no.
Oh, you're fine. He's waiting.
Wait,
She's waiting.
I can't get in.
Nice.
Stress levels.
So perfect.
Okay.
I'm gonna take this opportunity to order on my phone and then check the questions. We'll be right back.
Yes.
Are you cold now?
I forgot a jacket.
So we have time to answer a few more while we wait for our Starbucks order. What was the first one again?
Oh, grow light? Well, there's that
favorite
one.
grow lights and why?
It's
It's really hard to choose a favorite.
I know.
I have 3 favorites right now.
I think we have the same 3. Oh, no, we don't have the same 3. I don't think. But
So the Burle T5s, really good to use as like strip lights for shelves and tents.
and I like the color of them.
The color looks really aesthetically pleasing. They're not too strong, so it's really hard to burn plants on it, but you couldn't grow like succulents under them. They're not strong enough. Mother lights.
I love my mother light. It's so I know that it's pricey. It's on the higher end, but to me it is so worth it.
And they're strong and they're really well made and
they're
look
beautiful,
aesthetically pleasing. My third one is a new one I really like. I bought the Russo plant light and have it hanging in my living room right now, and I really like it. It has more of a white light similar to Mother. It's not as warm as the Burle, but it's really strong and it looks nice. I bought it because it was cheaper than the Soltec lights, but I think I would really like the Soltec lights as well.
I want Soltec lights so bad.
Me too. Do you have another favorite?
I really like the Manios still.
Oh, the Manios is good too.
Yeah, the Manios is slightly cooler in color in comparison to the Burle, but they're stronger.
Yeah, they're 25 watt, I think, right?
24.
24 watt?
24 watt. And yeah, like my succulents, they do so good under it. My cacti do so good under it. So do my
sun-stressed Hoyas.
My variegated plants. There was another one. What plants do you not like or what plant?
Least favorite plant in the other person's collection.
I already know mine, but I want you to think of yours first. Nobody hit me or I'll your mom.
You my mom.
I was waiting for when it would hit you. I'm coming for Kris Kardashian. Alice's mom is basically Kris Kardashian, by the way.
Because she's like so organized.
She's such a freaking icon. No, because she like, I'm going on a trip, but don't worry, I had your Thanksgiving meal like catered, like everything's all set, but I'm gonna be over here.
You say yours first, because I'm trying to think of mine. I don't think I have a good answer.
Hoya Nicholsonia New Guinea Ghost.
Why?
Because
it doesn't grow anymore.
It doesn't matter. When I was stuck with my one leaf, you kept just growing and growing, bushy, like, and then you post it, and you know.
I know, but don't grow anymore. It just gets purpler and purpler.
I'm trying to get mine your color, and it won't do anything.
Mine's not so much sun stress as it is just like straight up stressed.
Okay.
Because it has root mealies.
Give me some of the root mealies. Give me some.
It's root mealies plus underwatering, and it's just like purple.
Noted. Noted. I mean, I really like how mine looks. It's like very minty and like bright, but I want to sun stress it so bad.
It's not even under Monios. It's under Burina's.
Mine are under 2
Yeah.
Monios.
Oh, okay. So just underwater. Repot it for no good reason.
Give me the pond that you're
You don't want my root mealies.
Yes, I do. Just for that plant.
I do hate Melanochrysum now.
Yeah.
So it's not your specimen that I hate.
I just happen to have it.
You happen to have it, and you happen to be caring for it. So.
Well, it happens to hate me too, so.
Yeah, that's typical Milano. Last question before we go into Starbucks. Has Sherman been inside your house yet? No. But
she invited me in one time, but it was under not the right circumstances.
She's like, I need to throw up. Just like, come in and throw up. She's like, I'm not throwing up inside your house.
Imagine the first time I go in there, I'm just hovering over her toilet, like throwing up. No,
but honestly, like we've been planning to do like a bunch of stuff in my house, but we just haven't gotten around to it yet. Like I want to refresh my garden, like my backyard garden for spring, and she really wants to do like yard work. She can do like power washing and like lawn mowing and all the things that she loves to do, just fantasizes about. And then I want to do some cooking stuff with her, baking stuff,
and she wants to host a roast.
Oh yeah, I want to cook
one day
dinner, but it's like we got to do it before the weather gets hot, because I can't roast in my house when it's warm.
And I want to use your fire pit. She has like the most magical, like Snow White backyard. Like literally,
I really like my backyard.
Something out of a movie. and never even seen that. I don't.
So in due time, she'll come over to my house, but it's really hard to film in my house in like the living area because it is so dark. So just be warned. But yeah, okay. Thank you for joining our Q&A. There's a lot of good questions, so maybe we'll come back to this at another time.
Yeah, just like put it all in a list, and anytime we're in the car, we'll just rapid fire.
Yeah. Okay. Well, better get going. Lauren's waiting for us. We'll see you later. So here we are at North Shore Tropicals. If you want to see the unboxing of these plants, I will link Lauren's video in the description. So these are all of them already unboxed, and like they were absolutely perfect. They looked so healthy, so perky, just really happy plants, and I was just so overwhelmed from like this sheer number of burle marx flames. I've been waiting for these plants to come into my life for so long, and I was just like suddenly bombarded with like a million of them. It was very almost like an out-of-body experience. It was just such a good time. These were the medium ones. They had really nice fenestrations. There were only a few of these, so whoever got these, good job. And this one is Lauren's personal Spiritus Sancti. She got 2 large ones. The other one went to Jessie, who also works at the shop. And this one was so narrow. Lauren specifically chose this one because it was so narrow. And look, this one actually has a tiny little bit of variegation at the bottom. And here is Frankie being a good boy. But yeah, it's just such a beautiful plant. She pots this one up in her video, so definitely check that out. And these ones were the small Spiritus Sanctis. I wasn't really expecting this texture. I don't know what I was expecting, but the little ones had this like philodendron rugosum kind of texture, if you know what I'm talking about. And then I put myself in charge of getting this like milky white residue off the leaves. So I was gonna make them a little bath and get them all cleaned up.
Smells so good. So what are you doing over here, madame?
So I'm making a little peppermint castile soap bath.
Wow.
Jose's just unpacking the small burle marx flames right now.
Hi, Jose.
Hi.
Hard at work.
And then we're gonna pop them in here so I can like mass wash off all the kind of hard water, fertilizer or pesticide stains on there.
So when your plants come in looking real shiny, it's this one. This is the one that did it.
So after filling a bin of Dr. Bronner's peppermint solution, I just popped the plants in batch by batch and just kind of just wipe down the leaves a little bit, just in the hopes of getting that residue off and any like bits of dirt and like bits of they just looked a little bit dirty. I think the plant deserved a little bit better. So in the end, the white stuff didn't quite come off with the Castile soap, but I'll show you later when I get home. I did get them off with a different soap, but they did look better at the end. Just didn't get all the white stuff off. After soaking them, I did have to spray them off again because the Castile soap does leave a residue and it would have kind of like a mildewy cast to it. So they all got rinsed off slightly, and then they were all potted up in sphagnum moss, and they're acclimating in the shop now. They look so perfect. Several days later, they look just as perfect. I'm so tired. I just want to be in bed right now. After a day like today, which was so much fun, like I don't remember the last time I was so surrounded by plants that like made me just full of excitement, and it was just so thrilling to be around all those plants, even though it was only 2 types of plants. Well, 3, including that one bonus anthurium that Lauren got, which I don't think I showed on camera, but she got like a no ID hybrid from the seller. You're gonna have to watch Lauren's video to see that plant, which I highly recommend you do because we did a little unboxing of them and then she kind of potted up her personal plants. But anyway, typically on an import day like today, I would have just thrown the plant like in the moss that it was in into like a bin, or even like had it in water if the plant looked really thirsty and dehydrated, and just left it overnight. But it's not just my plant, right? I'm splitting this with Charmaine, so I feel a sense of obligation to deal with it tonight. And also the next 2 days I'm gonna be working at the shops. I feel like I'm gonna be even grosser after those days, and I feel like I should do this now. So we are here tonight to pot up this plant and also kind of unwrap the roots so I can show you what it looks like. So this is the plant that Charmaine and I got. This was literally the perfect specimen for us. So it's 4 leaves, and I'm going to show you the stem in a second, but it is like absolute perfection. And I actually already washed it down, so you can see that this one really doesn't have any of the white residue, which is either hard water staining or a pesticide. Oftentimes we'd get plants from exporters, and I see this a lot in Indonesia. I don't really get this with the Ecuador plants, but they would come in with like a really, really hard, white, milky staining. When it's on like a velvety anthurium, for example, it's really hard to get off. So certain chemicals that I've used in the past that have worked, one was, what's it called? Pink solution. I don't know if you have this in the States, but here in Canada, it's available at like Costco. I think it originated from like an infomercial, and they advertise it as something you can use for like anything. Like you use it in your laundry, you can use it as like an all-purpose cleaner, you can use it on your vegetables. Jing had a big bucket of that, so she gave us like a few globs of it to use, and it worked on the plants. I actually did something that I don't normally do with plants, but I figured that this leaf is so thick and waxy that it could take it. So I used just a tiny bit of Dawn with a lot of water and just kind of like rubbed it and immediately rinsed it off, and it did the perfect job with this. So the reason why I don't like Dawn, well, I don't like Dawn as like an all-purpose like leaf cleaner, is because it is so strong that it can really strip like the top layer of a plant leaf. So I wouldn't do it with like something very thin, but with something like this, I felt like I could take it, because I've used I don't even want to say how harsh of a chemical I've used on my Brazilian common form monstera, which is really thick and plasticky, in order to eradicate scale, and that worked a treat on the scale, and it didn't harm the leaf. So based on that experience, I used Dawn, and I'm very glad I did, because that got the residue off way better than Castile soap did. Anyways, I'm rambling. Let's open this up. And I thought I'd film this because it's been a while since I've shown like my acclimation process. So first of all, oh crap. Oh no, it's okay. I'm gonna be there tomorrow. We left behind our cups of moss because we took a cup of moss home, where we packed a cup of moss each, because we really wanted to try growing this moss, because this moss that this seller used was so pretty. Let me show you. A little bit of a detour here, but do you see how pink it is and how like hairy and fibrous it is? Just need that white balance to figure itself out. There, I think that's showing really nice and pink. If I go up too close to the camera, the white balance freaks out and it goes all green. Still looks a little bit green, but it's so pretty compared to the sphagnum moss that we get here. So I was really interested in growing this in a terrarium, seeing if it will reanimate. So I'm not going to use that. Now I also don't grow in moss, but I thought it would be really pretty to grow. So the plant looks like, let me pull some of this sheath off. So this plant is so perfect for sharing, because first of all, the internodes are quite wide, so it's really easy to get a chop in there. And also the top 2 leaves has a nice long aerial root, and then the bottom 2 leaves obviously has the bigger root system. So this is with the bottom 2 leaves, but we thought it'd be perfect to get a cut right here. So it won't take too long of air layering this. Like I just need this to start growing roots, then this can be chopped. And then I thought it would be perfect as well, because the bottom 2 leaves has a fenestration. So the person who's getting the bottom, which is going to be me, gets a fenestrated leaf. Obviously it will revert back to juvenile. It'll grow like a really tiny, like little, what's that shape? Like a little spearhead shaped leaf. And then it will start to size up. But the top 2 leaves don't have fenestration. So I felt like this is just a really even, perfectly fair split. I'm gonna try to fashion somewhat of a weird air layering. It's not really weird, but I'm gonna have to like MacGyver a situation, and I want to try to root it in tree fern fiber. Going into this, I was like convinced I was going to root this in leca, because I've seen people have success rooting this plant in particular in leca. Lauren included. But then I was going through the hashtag on Instagram and everyone was growing it in soil. I've had such good experience with tree fern fiber. I trust it a lot as a substrate, and Charmaine wants hers rooted in tree fern as well. So let's figure out how we're gonna root these two separately, not in the same container. So let me just adjust the camera angle real quick. Just gonna roll my supply cart, my trusty supply cart over, get my scissors, my shears, are they in here? I love that cart, seriously. Okay, so this root here, this end is Dunzo's. Oop, yeah, you can see I broke here, but it's kind of brown up until here. So I'm gonna cut and see if it's all healthy. No, you see there's two little black dots in the middle there. So we're gonna cut that off until we don't see any brown. Yeah, so that one, now it is, if it'll focus on the tip of the root, now that's good. And then basically I don't want any of these secondary roots. Like, these are not gonna hang on. If you see how they're dangling, they're like basically almost broken off. So I'm taking all of them off. In my experience, secondary roots, they just don't survive the acclimation process. They're the first ones to be shed. Even if they're healthy, the plant tends to just kind of shed them naturally anyways. So I'm only gonna keep the healthy primary root. So that's the main root that comes out of the stem. The secondary roots are the ones that come out of the root. I like how I brought a potting mat up here and I'm not even using it. You know what, let's use the potting mat. Don't be stupid, Alice. All right, so this is what we're left with. The bottom cutting has this one here and this one here. And then the top cutting has this long guy here. So actually I'm going to just quickly rinse this off in the sink, basically getting the moss residue off. So I'll be right back. So I have this slightly bigger cup that will be for the bottom. And then this cup, just a little bit smaller, will be for the top. Well, I'll get the bottom situated first and then we're gonna plant up the top. So I'm just really trying not to snap these thick monstera roots. I'm just gonna curve and coil like this, leaving that top root out, because again, I want to root that separately so I can just make a clean chop once the top is ready. This is tree fern fiber mixed with pond and perlite and some orchiata, just basically my pond mix. It's not a ton of that pond mix, so it just kind of like looks like this. The really nice thing about tree fern is that it doesn't stick to the roots the way almost any other substrate does. It falls off really easily, kind of similar to soil actually. So if I decide later that I want to change it, or if I want to mix it with like soil as well, then it's really easy to do so. I don't have to spend time like untangling the substrate from the roots. Like literally you just take it out and it's just like, it just falls off. It's beautiful. If you haven't used tree fern fiber yet, I highly recommend it if it's accessible to you. I literally cannot believe that this plant is in my plant room right now. I'm just so in awe of this plant. Like, I didn't think that seeing it in person would be everything that I hoped it would be. You know how they say like don't meet your heroes? And same with the Spiritus Sancti. Oh my gosh, you guys. I kind of just wrote that plant off as like maybe a plant that I wanted a lot because it had that Spiritus Sancti like reputation and that, yeah, just that very unattainable status for so long, and it's so beautiful and majestic. It has a lot of characteristics that I love in plants, like a long leaf, nice thick texture, big long lobes, really narrow. Like it's everything that I like in a long leaf philodendron. But I kind of written it off as a plant that I didn't even need to have. Like I kept saying like this plant I wanted way more, but seeing one in person made me want it again. It reinforced that it's a plant that I really want in my collection because it's just so incredibly beautiful in person. It's probably more beautiful in person than it is in pictures. Like in a way I regret not pre-ordering one, but also I know I couldn't afford one. So anyways, so that's the bottom. It's like a tiny bit wobbly, but that's okay. Eventually, once this is rooted, I'm gonna get it onto a pole. And at that point I might change up the substrate to be tree fern and soil. Not sure yet. So I think I want it like here. So you can see that this cup would sit slightly higher. I'm trying to think of how I'm gonna get it to stay here. And I'm sure the solution will come to me at some point, but let's fill this up first. I'm gonna fill it up as high as possible so I can cover as much root as possible. So I have some saran wrap. Let's move some tree fern here so this can stay. Will you stay put like this? Nope. Okay. So I'm thinking this could kind of tie this cup to the stem, maybe, because it's kind of a little bit grippy. And then, I mean, I guess I could tape it, but I don't have tape on me right now. I'm just tying a bit of a knot. Okay, wait, hold on. Does that work? I don't like it. Hold on, let me think about this. Is it the most elegant thing in the world? No. Is it providing the services that it needs to? Like, kind of. Like, it just looks a little bit ridiculous. Okay, so this is what we got going on here. It's like a little handkerchief, I guess. How this is going to stay upright, I think that's where this comes in. It could do something like that. Are we okay with this, everybody? I think it'll have to do. I'm gonna leave this kind of open-ish so that there's some airflow. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're gonna go with this. And then, of course, the last thing we need to do is inoculate it with great white, but not a ton of water because this is gonna go into, I was thinking either my tent or a bin. Right now my tent is quite full because I shoved a bunch of purge plants, like the plants that I chopped in last week's video. I shoved it in there just so it would root faster because they did get a little bit droopy after the chop, but they started to perk back since I put them in the tent. So all that to say, I don't have a ton of room in here for this one plant. Okay, I'm gonna have to find room in here, like something nice and warm. Where my hand is right now, this hand right here is kind of like a little bit darker of an area. So that might be actually nice for this plant. But anyway, I just got great white in here. I'm gonna fill this with water. Be right back. Okay, not too much because I don't want it to be like pooling at the bottom of this cup. Probably should have done this cup before I tied the plastic on, but it's okay because the substrate will kind of wick the moisture and even it out. Okay, that should be enough for now. Just feeling, you know, this one is quite light still. If any of you ordered from this pre-order, we did great white all of the plants as well, so hopefully that will also speed up the rooting process and get them kind of established quicker. This looks ridiculous, but hopefully it won't have to like endure this undignified setup for too long. As soon as this one starts to root, like I said, we're gonna chop it right here, and then this will be its own established rooted plant, and then it's gonna go to Charmaine. So once again, because she's a top cutting kind of girl, these 2 leaves are for her. These 2 leaves are for me. And of course I like a top cutting as well, but there's something also quite magical about getting a mid cut. I mean, usually you pay less money for it, but like a nice mid cut, and then you see the progression from baby to large. Like I found that really, really satisfying with my Patriciae because I got a mid cut, got a little baby leaf, and then like grew up and grew up and grew up, and now it's like a really big plant. So I kind of like mid cuts. Like if I want to look on the bright side, mid cuts can be really satisfying in its own unique way. Obviously top cuts, you get more chance of a more mature growth sooner, but if it doesn't have a root system and you chop it, like you get an unrooted top cut, it can very well revert back to super juvenile anyways. So anyway, I am so done for today. But before I go, I added a little thing to my bar cart if you haven't seen it yet. I went to IKEA and I saw this dustpan and I was like, that is freaking perfect. It's so small and it's so like, it's just so petite and I really like how skinny the brush is. So like little repotting messes that I make, it's perfect without having to like go downstairs and get the Dyson, because whenever I get the Dyson, Huxley freaks out, he thinks it's a party. So that was my little addition for the week and I really love it. So anyway, I am gonna go wash my face and crawl into bed. Back at the shop early tomorrow. I don't know if I'll film much at the shop like when I'm working there, and I don't know for how long I'll be working there. Lauren was very kind and was just like, work here as long as you need to until you find a job. Obviously I'm there to work and I'm there to help the shop, so I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be filming day and like let's film everything we do, because obviously it takes like twice as long to do everything. So if possible, I could film or I could help Lauren film. But when I'm there, I'm probably not really gonna film, but maybe I could film bits and pieces here and there to throw into vlogs like such as this one. But yeah, I'm gonna clean up now and I'll see you back here later. So today is Thursday. Today's kind of like a flex day for me because I'm not working at the shop. I went to the dentist this morning, which was a bad time. I haven't been to the dentist in a long time, and don't be like me. Go to the dentist frequently. But the nice thing about going to the dentist is that they give you a free toothbrush. I'm not gonna use it for my teeth because I use a Sonicare. I can't go back to manual brushing now that I've like been using a Sonicare for so long. So this is going in my plant cart because I'm gonna use it for brushing chunks, like cleaning chunks. If you've ever watched one of Charmaine's chunk cleaning, when you are cleaning like a really big woody chunk and there's all that little like dried up sheaths and like oxidized plant tissue, this is good to get it like kind of off and really gently. This feels really soft. Did they give me a sensitive teeth one? They did. Well, anyways, I thought I'd jump on here and just we can have a little chat. I wanted to show you some things I picked up at the shop this week, because every day at the shop is oh, by the way, when I say the shop, I mean North Tropicals. So every day that you're at the shop, you're kind of susceptible to Lauren being like, have this plant, have this plant. So I wanted to show you some plants. I wanted to show you a little update on the Burle Marx flame. And I also wanted to close off this video by going through the rest of the questions from the Q&A box, the question box that I put up on Instagram that we kind of started in the car, but we only got through a few questions. So I grabbed 3 things from Lauren this week. The first one, well, they're not looking the best because they were fresh cuttings. We were chopping down some plants and propagating a lot this week just to prepare to fill up her shop with more merch in the next while, because we just had a restock last week. So I was working on this bin of philodendron glad hands or podatum glad hands, and I asked her if I can take this cutting and she said yes. We actually traded. I brought a bunch of baby forgetty eyes to the shop to sell 2 weeks ago and they didn't sell, and she decided to keep one for herself and she put the other 2 in the shop, like not on the website, just in the shop. And I was like, how about let's trade that forgetty eye for this? And she's like, deal. So I am so glad to finally have one. I've been wanting one, I'm not joking, for like 2 years. I don't know why I never got one. I just don't think the opportunity presented itself, plus the right specimen. And then this was just so beautiful. This is a top cutting. I'm gonna be just water rooting this, and then I'll pot it up when it's rooted and I'll get it onto a pole. This shape is just something else. This will definitely tie me over like emotionally until the point I can get a nice polypodioides, but it's like kind of somewhere in between, and it's so pretty. It's all facing the same way, and I could not be happier with this little like bonus unexpected score. And it's a top cutting as well, and I don't think it should have any problem rooting in water. And I actually don't really want to grow it very big because with my Florida Ghost and my Florida Beauty, they do take over really fast. Because the problem with these plants is not that their petioles are so long. Well, it's not just that their petioles are so long, it's that they grow freaking like straight out, like just horizontal. So it's not like a gloriosum, for example. Like this guy has really long petioles, but they can go upwards and a little bit sideways. You know how gloriosums kind of like curve around? Florida and podatum varieties, they just want to go straight out. Although this one's kind of growing upwards, so maybe it'll kind of keep this growth pattern a little bit longer, because when it grows straight horizontal, that's when they get a little bit hard to manage. It got a little bit droopy on this leaf. This is the new leaf that hadn't even finished expanding yet, and I just like chopped it off. This one looks really sad. I brought this home literally yesterday. She chopped it off. So basically she has a lot of mother plants. You know how vining philodendrons kind of just like start going everywhere and they're not on poles. And if you don't chop them soon enough, then you get this like curly whirly vine. So she was kind of pruning things back and making cuttings, and she's like, do you have a majestic? And I was like, why yes, I do have a majestic. So I described my majestic to her. I described this to her. Basically, I was like, the leaves are about this big, it's about this tall. And she was like, yeah, how about let's not do that and you can just have this instead. So she gave me a beautiful, nice top cutting of her majestic. This new leaf was still expanding. This happened with my majestic when I chopped it the first time. I let it callus. Like that first time I cut my majestic, I let it callus overnight. In the morning it was just spinach. So this time I didn't want to let it callus because I knew I was gonna water root it. So when you like chop a stem for water rooting, you can just get it straight into water rather than let it callus for several hours like you might if you were gonna put it into moss, because it's gonna go in water anyways, right? Callusing the end of that stem can make it harder for that plant to like pull up water from the cut end. So with the cutting that I intend to water root, I usually just chop it and get it straight into water so it can pull up water and not lose all that like water content in the leaves. But this kind of had to stay on the desk while I finished up the day and then like through traffic and stuff. So it got a little bit droops, but I'm excited to have this because it is such a beautiful cutting. One of my goals for this year was to size this one up because this was my original majestic. It was a gift from Charmaine a long time ago, and I just need to get this on a pole because it's growing. It just needs guidance now. What I actually might do is, because I have two of these like this size, they were just twin cuttings, I might just pot them together on a pole, but I'll pot this one a little bit separate, and then I'll probably grow this like outside of a greenhouse, away from light, just like very shaded light. I have a lot of those places, and with majestic they need a surprisingly little amount of light to grow nicely. So yeah, that's the second one I got. It's so pretty, and she's got tons of these propping now, so if anyone's looking for majestic, she's gonna have them, and they're obviously not going to be very pricey. So that's going back in water. These two are now together. They're gonna live on my kitchen counter. That's kind of like my counter of water rooting. Things just get thrown in a cup of water there, and then once they're rooted I bring them up to the plant room, and usually I leave them in there for way too long. And then the last thing that I picked up, oh, I cannot believe I have a specimen this size in my collection. This was totally unexpected, and the only thing I'm missing from this plant now is a stem. So fingers crossed it can grow. I'm just kidding. This was from Lauren's personal Spirit Sancti, and it came in like the base of the petiole was kind of like damaged, and then it was like all broken in transit. So this leaf was going and she chopped it off. So I asked if I could take it home to press it, and she said yes. So I'm gonna press this leaf. But this leaf was one of like the narrow ones with a really nice, somebody called this cheekbones on my Instagram post, and I love that so much because these do look like Maleficent cheekbones. It actually does look like Maleficent with the horns and everything. Huh, interesting. And it's really long. It's probably like a foot and a half, 18 to 20 inches. So I'm very excited to press this, but I just don't know how I'm gonna get a long and narrow frame. I'll be on the lookout, and I'll probably most likely be pressing this and then completely forgetting about it for a little while. But I think this would be nice, maybe framed in my plant room somewhere, maybe like next to my EXO. So yeah, that's what I picked up this week from Lauren. Thank you, Lauren, for all the gifts, all the nifty gifties. And then I'll show you a quick update on this beautiful guy. The update is that nothing has changed. Like literally nothing has changed. It's only been a couple of days. I mean, wishful thinking, I was like hoping that like I'll see active root growth. Although there is a root on the top cutting. So Charmaine is going to be very happy to know this. That has a Nice yellow root tip. You see right there. So far, so good. It looks absolutely amazing. Not a yellow leaf. It's still super waxy, perky, and perfect. And if anyone has pre-ordered one from Lauren, I've been seeing them every day at the shop and they look just perfect. They look perfect. I cannot believe how nicely these came in and also how rooted they were. Like they weren't just like, you know, how like sellers can kind of try to multiply big orders and just like chop a plant into like a million pieces and just give you aerial roots. Like these had nice, good root systems already. Like this is a good seller that Lauren found. So I'm just very impressed with how things came in, how healthy the plants were, and just how generous he was in terms of the sizing. I'm still so shook that this plant is in my house, in my hands. I have been lusting after this plant since it was being called Dilacerata, like in 2020, yeah, like that's when I first discovered this monstera and I was like, that's a plant that I'll never obtain. That's a plant that is way out of my pay grade, never will come down. They're not a super easy grower. Like that's the kind of information I was getting then. And I was like, there's no way this is going to be like readily available. I mean, it's not readily available, but if you looked hard enough, at least here in Canada and I'm assuming in the US and in Europe, like you're gonna be able to find one. Now the prices might not be the same everywhere, but it's not a super elusive, you have to know somebody who knows somebody kind of thing. Like I cannot believe the day is finally here and I'm actually terrified of killing this plant. Absolutely petrified because I've been wanting this plant for so long. Once we get past that hurdle of rooting it, I need to be able to grow this plant and I'm not great with monsteras. So if there's any monstera I'm going to try my freaking hardest with, it's going to be this one. So yeah. No real update other than that I think Charmaine's cutting is growing an active root, and then on the bottom cutting I can't really see the end of a root. I think I planted in a way where I couldn't see the end. Oh my god, I heard a sound and it was just Huxley. Yeah, anyways, we'll keep you posted and I can't wait for, yes, hello Huxley. I cannot wait. Okay, don't knock these plants over. They're very, very nice plants. I cannot wait to get it cut and then give Charmaine her cutting so she can feel the joy that I feel when I hold this plant. Oh, okay, he's gone. I guess it wasn't that interesting in here. And I thought I'd just close off this vlog by going through, not the rest of the questions. I don't think we have time to go through every question, but I'm just gonna pick a few and then we'll close it off. And I can get editing so I'm not scrambling because this weekend, like I said, we're doing our purge tomorrow and I have quite a few plants. That was actually why I was in here, was I was doing some purge prep, like just checking on the plants I had chopped and then seeing what else I could pull for the sale and just making a list. All right, so questions. What was your first plant and do you still have it? No, I don't. I think my first plant was one of those like lucky bamboos from IKEA, you know, those like swirly curly spirally ones they do. So I don't have that one anymore. I probably also had like an orchid at some point, maybe it was gifted from somebody. I had a cactus, which at that point I didn't understand plants, like not even like 1%. I didn't really understand that they need light. I was like, it's just this hard as rock cactus. I'm gonna stick it in like darkness. It's just gonna be on a shelf and it's gonna be fine. And then it turned into like, you know how like when you freeze a banana and then you defrost it and it's just like this wet, limp banana that's kind of like brown and see-through? That's what happened to my cactus. I used to have like a ficus ginseng bonsai that died. I think it didn't get water. This was all like maybe like 15, 20 years ago, where I didn't like, the plants were disposable to me and plants were decoration and light was just this vague concept that I had no idea about. So yeah, those are rest in peace plants. Which part of Asia would you like to visit now? I have two answers. First one, Japan. I haven't been to Japan in like 10 years. I'm way overdue. I love it in Japan. And I think this time around I would do different things. So in the past, I would go to Japan like 2-3 times a year with my aunt. So my aunt was a fashion designer. So for the majority of my life, and you wouldn't know this by looking at me now, like with my crappy clothes, but I was very into fashion, and we were doing a lot of work for her. So she was, you know, those kind of that cool aunt where they let you into their lives and they give you opportunities and stuff. She would take us on these trips for her job and like buying trips and stuff. And those were so fun. It was such a privilege to do that with her because like at 19 to have like access to like all this travel and spending money that wasn't mine on beautiful clothing that were meant to be samples, but then I got to wear them. And like yeah, so I used to go quite often, and those trips were very centered around shopping. So we would literally shop for 12 hours a day, and I would have so much energy for it. If you stick me in a mall, I'm done within 2 hours now. Like, I don't know how I used to do it. Obviously I was much younger, but that my mental capacity for shopping was much greater. I think this time around, if I were to go back to Japan, obviously I would shop, but not so much for clothing, because in Japan I'm like quite large. Like, I don't think I would really fit into anything in Japan. And in my experience, that always made me feel kind of bad about myself and my body image. So really, I think I would stay away from clothing shopping, not completely, but for the most part. I would center it a lot around food. And one thing that I've never been able to experience in Japan was wrestling. So I really want to go and see some wrestling shows, because Japanese wrestling, more like indie wrestling, is so much fun to watch. I highly, highly doubt anyone watching this can relate, but that style of wrestling is just really just rambunctious and quick and technical. And my favorite wrestlers are the ones that are very technical and like really quick and like very highly skilled. So that would be so much fun. And then of course the other place I want to go is Taiwan, which is where I'm from, where I was born. I don't consider that home, but I love it there. I haven't been there in like 5 years, 4 years or so, obviously due to COVID for the most part, and it's so hot. There's only a very small window of time where I will allow myself to be in Taiwan, because it is so insanely hot there in the summertime, and like for a lot of the spring and part of the fall as well. So yeah, those two places. Ooh, okay, so I want to answer this question because I get a lot of Michael questions, especially when people buy Great White and they're like, how do I use this? Or like, can I use this with this or whatever? I still don't feel comfortable making a myco video because I'm not a mycologist, and I really just learn what I learned through podcasts and like Googling. But a lot of the academic articles are really centered around like large scale farming in soil outdoors. So I find it very time consuming and difficult to make like sure connections to houseplants indoors, especially with soilless growing media. So this question is, do you mix myco with fertilizer in one water? I had a video sometime last year where I talked about like some new things that I learned around myco. I'll pop the thumbnail right here. So basically my understanding, and I forget which podcast I learned this from, but so we know that mycorrhizae is that symbiosis between the plant's roots and the mycorrhizal fungi, or arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. So the myco that we get, like Great White, for example, they're like dormant fungal spores, right? They're not actively growing fungi. They need to germinate in the substrate, and the plant helps to germinate those spores by sending out like, I don't know what it is, like hormones or compounds called root exudates. So they exude from the roots. When a plant feels underfed, like it's lacking some sort of nutrients, it will send these root exudates out more readily, and they will help germinate that fungi. So that fungi is awake, and then they will form this relationship with the plant roots. So when you introduce myco into your substrate, it's best to hold off on feeding. So let's say you just repotted a plant into fresh soil. Don't fertilize during that time. Give it a few weeks. I would say like 3 to 4 weeks to be safe. 2 weeks maybe wouldn't hurt either. Let that plant kind of start to root in search of nutrients and water, and let those root exudates get sent out from the plant. That will ensure that you're getting a better bond between the fungi and the plant. That said, fertilizing right at the beginning is not going to eliminate the possibility of the plant and the fungi forming this relationship. Because if you think about it, in like an old growth forest, there's like lots of decay, there's lots of nutrients available to the plant, but we still find these vast networks of mycelium under the ground, because the purpose of this relationship is that it's not that the plant cannot get nutrients without the fungi, it's that the fungi make it easier, because they go out in these like huge filamentous networks and then they forage for nutrients, break things down that are more readily available to the plant, and then they get them water and they help them communicate with each other. It's still in the plant's best interest to form this relationship with the fungi because they're gonna make their lives easier. It's just that they might not form this bond as quickly if the plant has like tons of nutrients readily available. So yeah, I always hold off on adding fertilizer at the beginning when I inoculate for at least 1 or 2 watering periods. And then I start to add fertilizer to the water for that plant. It's not like a perfect science that I have it down to. Like I don't have like a chart where I'm like saying like this plant got inoculated this day, so wait 3 weeks from that day. Like I kind of just go by memory really of like, when did I inoculate it and like can I fertilize now? I'm not going to go that deep into the timing of it because I know that the plant will still form this this relationship. I have kind of tried to look into it as well, where there was a study, it was mostly focusing on microbes and bacteria in the soil and fungus gnat. They were testing whether the fertilizer was killing the bacteria, not just like making the plant not rely on the bacteria, but also is this fertilizer, like the salts and stuff, actually killing the bacteria? And the answer is no. Well, the answer within that study was no. The study was based on the assumption that fertilizers are killing microbes and fungi in the soil because in large scale farming, you see less microbial activity in the soil, and large scale farming relies heavily on commercial fertilizers. So people made that connection that it's the fertilizer that's killing the soil, but actually the study was arguing that it's not the fertilizer, but it's other large scale commercial farming practices that inhibit microbial and fungal growth, because like excessive tilling, or when you're like heavy machinery going through and like just like compacting the soil, it's locking out a lot of oxygen, so that ends up killing bacteria and fungi. At least that's what the study said. But in that study it said that with no fertilizer, medium amount of fertilizer, and a lot of fertilizer, there's still microbial activity, and there's very little difference between no fertilizer and some fertilizer. The fungi and the bacteria can still cultivate and form relationships with the roots. Hopefully answers a lot of people's questions, maybe, but also this is going to be buried in this video too, so I feel like it's the question's going to keep coming up. But to summarize, when you inoculate your plant, I would recommend holding off on fertilizing for a little bit and then resuming later. That will encourage your plant to help germinate these fungal spores. And the other benefit is that you save a little bit of fertilizer in the beginning, right? But if you were to fertilize like too early, that's not going to make the fungi obsolete in the soil either. And of course, that also depends on what kind of substrate you're using. So something like if you're growing in perlite or tree fern fiber, which is like no nutrients, your plant is going to rely more on the mycorrhizae. But if you don't want to think about it too much, and keeping in mind that I'm not a mycologist, I'm not even very smart, but my thinking and my logic leads me to believe that it's not going to be detrimental to the relationship between your plant roots and the fungi, because the fungi is just speeding up the process of breaking down nutrients to a more available form to the plant. Well, that was a really long answer. How did you and your significant other meet? So we used to work together. We met through work. When you are as invested in your job and as not super social as we are, that's kind of like the only place for you to meet people. But that said, we weren't looking for a relationship when we got together, but we know each other through work. So up until December, we worked together. So he left his job in December, and then I left that job. So we both left the company by March. I don't have issues working with like a significant other. Professionalism is so important to me at the workplace that I find it really easy to separate like personal relationships and work. If someone were to do that to me, they treat me different at work, it's just like all business, and then like outside of work it's totally different. Like I have no problem like processing that and like just taking that as it is. So we had a good working relationship and a lot of respect. But I will say that now that we don't work together, like our personal relationship is so much better. And I think it's not just that we don't work together, like that us working together was contributing to like any sort of bickering at home or anything, but because we were both stretched so thin in our work, way past the point of burnt out, we didn't have any sort of an energy for each other in terms of like just positive, productive, loving energy at home. Since I would say not right at the beginning when he left his job, but maybe like a month or two after, things just got so much more healthy at home. And I don't mean that in like it was unhealthy and it was toxic and we were fighting a lot. It was just like we didn't have extra to give each other. We didn't have as much fun together. We weren't as like goofy with each other, and we didn't have any sort of adventurous spirit in how we wanted to go about our time together. So it's been so much better since we stopped working together, but not necessarily because we stopped working together. It's more that we both left a company that really wore us out super thin. And by the way, there were questions about me quitting my job, which I will want to do in a repot, but I just kind of want to process like the first month of having left and like get my thoughts together and letting my emotions kind of like subside. So that video is still coming, don't worry. Here's a YouTube question. So somebody asked if I have a camera recommendation. Just started Planty YouTube channel, like to step up my game a little. Like I am not like very well versed on cameras. I did try to do as much research as possible before getting this camera that I currently have, which is actually the same camera that Charmaine has. So I kind of wanted to go down the Sony route already, and I was kind of deciding between this one and another one. So the camera that we have is a Sony ZV-1. It's kind of built for YouTube. It's built for vlogging. It's very lightweight. It has pretty good stability, but not great. It has quite good audio, like straight out of the box. And it's kind of just very easy to use as like a non-camera person. What's the other one I was looking at? I was deciding between this one and, oh yeah, so I was deciding between this one, Sony ZV-1, and Sony ZV-E10, and I ended up going with this one. The nice thing about Sony ZV-E10 is that you can change the lens out. That's one of the bad things about the ZV-1 is that the lens is not interchangeable with others. It's just that's the lens that you get. But you can make like 4K videos with either. I don't film in 4K, I only film in HD because there's no chance my computer can handle 4K video. It would just scream and then shut down and probably melt in the process. I do recommend this camera for like ease of use. It's very just straightforward to use out of the box, but I will say it's not a very cheap camera, but it's also not a very high-end camera either. Is it a camera that you can use forever and ever and ever? No, because you're stuck with that one lens, and like as technology improves, they're probably gonna want to upgrade it from here, and you can't make like super cinematic stuff with it. It's really just like if you're vlogging, you're just sitting in front of camera as I do, then it's a good camera. Like the one good thing that it can do, like it just has features that are good for YouTube because it has like this one setting called product showcase, so it has a really good autofocus and it's really fast. So like if I put this up here, it immediately focuses on the cup, and then it will focus back on my face when I bring down the product. So it's designed for people who are constantly showing things to camera, like on YouTube. So like this plant will automatically focus really quick. There is really no perfect camera, but I'm quite happy with this. And then on top of the camera, I have a Rode Video Mic Pro. So that's the microphone that you're hearing right now. It's got nice audio. I know very little about like sound engineering and stuff, but it's out of the box, quite easy to use. It plugs straight in. It just connects to the hot shoe on top of the camera. Do I need a microphone of this price point, no. I was just really lucky because we already had this microphone. Like we bought this like huge backpack full of camera equipment from like a photography professor on Craigslist or something. Like she was just getting rid of a lot of gear, so this was part of it, and I was just like really lucky that there's just like a ready to use nice microphone. But you can get cheaper Rode mics like around the $100 price point. I highly recommend getting like a nicer mic, nicer than the average mic. But that said, the camera itself has quite a good microphone already. If you watch Charmaine's videos from the beginning, she used the microphone built into the camera up until like a month ago, and it's quite good audio. Okay, last question. Last question. This one came in through a DM because it was a really long question, couldn't fit into that little question box. At what point do you guys draw the line and say, I'm not gonna buy / keep this plant genus / species anymore? Like say you had a plant that you're interested in buying, what factors would make you consider that the plant's care is too high maintenance, that it's best not to purchase the plant? Or what are your moments where you did have a plant but finally decided the plant is no longer worth keeping? So that's a great question because it's very timely. I'm in the process of getting rid of a lot of plants, although a lot of them are like propagations, so it's not that I'm getting rid of the entire plant. It's always best practice to research a wish list plant before you buy it. Like if you don't know what their conditions are, like native conditions are, and that's only really applicable when you're like importing a plant straight from its like origin. I feel like this question's more geared towards like, let's say if you're looking at a price list and you're googling the plant and it looks beautiful, or you've seen this plant on Instagram but you don't know anyone who owns it and you're wondering if it would do well in your home. Like depending on the genus and the species, I think it's helpful to just do a quick search of this plant name on one of the Facebook groups. So we grow a lot of aroids, right? Like we as a community of like me and the people who are watching my videos, I assume grow a lot of aroids. So good resource would be like the philodendron enthusiast group, anthurium enthusiast groups, and I think there's aroid enthusiast group. Because those groups are not buy-sell trade groups, they're really just for information or just sharing photos of plants. So the chances of you finding care information or like troubleshooting kind of posts are much higher. So I would start there. And then of course you build on your own experience. So while not every anthurium is going to be the same, if you're confident in anthuriums and if you're growing anthuriums, this is just an example, for a long time, then you at least know like the growth habits of anthuriums. You kind of understand what their roots look like, what their roots like. They're gonna be outliers. Like for example, my anthurium debile likes way different conditions than all my other anthuriums, but you can kind of use that as a basis, and you're never gonna like be perfect in choosing only plants that work for you. Like my tastes change too. So like at one point I was really into Scindapsus, but like I'm getting rid of all my Scindapsus now because I just don't like their growth pattern. And while I think they're beautiful, like the way that they grow gives me no joy. Those are things you kind of just have to learn about yourself over time. Some factors for me that make me fall out of love with a plant is that, and I think this is the same for a lot of people, that it doesn't like you. So you stop liking it. Like you can't figure out why it's unhappy. Like the roots look great, the conditions are good, it's getting humidity, it's getting light, it's getting warmth, but the growth comes out really crappy or it doesn't grow at all. And you give it like a year and then still nothing. You repot it. So when you give it a good solid try and it's not responding well, then that can be a reason for me to get rid of a plant. In the past, it's been like a plant hasn't lived up to my expectations of texture, or mostly texture, and maybe it doesn't look quite the same in person as it does in photos. I don't know, like there's just so many reasons to fall out of love with a plant and want to like get rid of it. And that's not even considering like when you over collect and you have too big of a collection, you get overwhelmed and you have to like pare things down. So I guess my barometer for knowing like whether a plant should be kept in my collection is how excited am I when this plant puts out a leaf? And do I put the care into this plant in order to make it thrive, or I'm really just trying to keep it alive because it feels wrong to kill this plant? So with the plants that I pulled for my purge that weren't propagations, like I'm selling the entire plant as is, they were plants that I wouldn't even notice if they had grown a leaf. So that's kind of like my little gauge for how much I truly love this plant. And if I don't even notice new growth, or I don't really get that excited about new growth, then I know I'm not gonna miss this plant if it was out of my home. So yeah, I hope that answers the question somewhat, but that's such like a big question, and there's so much nuance. It really depends on the person. Experiment as much as you can at the beginning, and that really helps you dial in your own personal preferences on how you like to grow plants and where you like to grow plants and how you want them to look. There's just really no way for you to like start collecting and then just go on like a perfect path and never make any mistakes on like buying the wrong type of plant or killing a plant or anything. Of course, you know that, the person who asked this question, but I'm just kind of rambling because I really don't know how to fully answer this question because there's just way too much to say. But yeah, I think I'm gonna leave the Q&A there. Thank you guys for sending in your questions. Those of you who answered my question box on Instagram. I'm also gonna wrap the video up here. I hope you enjoyed this week's vlog. I'll keep you guys posted on how the Burle Marx Flame does because it's my new favorite baby. And thank you guys so much for watching my long videos, like those of you who make it all the way through to the end. You guys are the best. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Mwah.